Wonderful.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice.
I'm so glad to finally be here with Andrea Testa of Friends of Foster Kids. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Just got promoted, actually. You're director now.
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations.
Director of Events and Marketing. Yes,
oh, nice.
Thank you.
And you've always kind of worked in events.
Yep, always been in the hospitality industry. Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually met years ago. Did we meet through a Chamber of Commerce, or we just met at an event?
I think we met at an event, like literally 15 years ago, if not. Yeah, probably 15 years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and we've always kind of, it's weird, we've always kind of, maybe not spoken all the time, but kind of connected somewhere with between somebody else. And, you had your car service at one time, so I was referring people to you for your car service, and then you took my daughter to the airport, and
it's pretty awesome.
We've kind of, just kind of recircled every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I wrote a book called 10 Things I Wish I Knew as a Single Parent. And when you and I met, we were both single parents.
Correct.
And there's been a lot of things, a lot of different situations and scenarios for the single parents. Mm-hmm. So many of them have had challenges that you've never had. I wanted to actually have you speak to them about how to avoid some of those challenges.
Oh, boy.
And some of the things you and I have gone through, because we've both had some experiences since we've known each other.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind, if you want to first tell us a little bit about yourself, like about... where you grew up?
Absolutely. So I'm 56 years old. I'll be 57 in May. I grew up in Islip, Long Island. I'm born in Bayshore Hospital. I was there probably for about 3 years, maybe 4 years. My parents got divorced. My mom moved to New Jersey, and my dad stayed in Long Island. So I stayed with my dad in Long Island for probably till I was about maybe 10 or 11. Moved to Jersey. My mom lived in Summit, New Jersey. And then she had a house in Summit and then bought a house in Westfield. So when she moved to Westfield, I moved in with her. I went to latter part of middle school into full high school at Westfield High School, graduated from high school there. Went on to go to Arizona State. Didn't last very long there. Funny story. So my roommate, she was so funny. Her father owned Point Tapatia, the golf course in Tempe, Arizona. Up on a mountain. The only way you could get there was by helicopter. It was just the coolest golf course ever. And she asked me, are you interested in doing part-time work? And I was like, sure. Doing what? She's like, you get to wear your bathing suit and you get to drive a golf cart and serve old men cocktails. I was like, I'm all over that.
I'll take
all over that. So I was making literally between $500 and $1,000 a day in tips. And I was like, college? Who needs college?
Right.
So P.S. my father proceeded to call me when the school said, does your daughter still go here? And said, you better be ready because I'm picking you up. My plane will land in 2.5 hours and you need to be at the airport. And I went, okay. So P.S. back to Jersey I went. From there, actually my dad made me go work for MTV. MTV, he was dating the woman that owned it at the time, or started it. Okay. Her name was Sharon, and she actually needed a receptionist. So I had to go work as a receptionist at MTV. It was literally like a week old. I'll never forget. I was like, thank you for calling MTV. This is Andrea. How can I assist you? Wow. Well, that lasted 2 weeks. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm like, this is the most thankless, mindless job in the entire world. So I ended up going to work for an advertising agency as a receptionist to start. I lasted about 2.5 months as a receptionist. The woman who was running the creative department and the casting department asked me if I was interested in becoming a casting director. And I was like, sure, I'll do that. So she took me under her wing. Her name was Lynn Kluger. Took me under her wing, and I actually ended up being a children's casting director. So I was there with Avery Free and Ginsberg for, I'm going to say like 6 years. Throughout that time, I had met my husband, who we had gotten engaged. And when I got engaged, he was like, my wife will never work. That doesn't happen in our family. We're Italian. Wives stay home with the kids, and they cook and they clean and blah, blah, blah. So, P.S., I ended up quitting my job, which was the stupidest thing I ever could have done. And I ended up becoming a housewife, having 2 beautiful kids, Gabby and Nicholas, who you know. And I stayed at home. And then 10.5 years later, I said, this is not for me. My husband gave us a very, very good living. I had a beautiful home in Summit. I never.
Your house was actually in Martha Stewart magazine.
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm. She used to do her cooking shows from my kitchen.
Oh my!
And she did a whole scenario on progressive dinners because I was so into hospitality at that point. So we did a progressive dinner, which she featured on her show. So I did, I was there, I did that. And 10.5 years later, I went, you know, my husband's never home. I've raised my kids. I'm tired of cooking and cleaning. I had a shore house where literally Thursday I would have 50 people show up. I was kicking them out the door Sunday night and then cleaning Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to get ready for Thursday again. It was.
I want to get into your single parent story, but first I just want to unpack some of the other stuff you said.
Okay.
So your parents got divorced when you were young, I guess, 10. And what was your experience like as living in a single parent household? I guess jumping between homes.
So my father had custody of us, of me and my 2 sisters. So we have 3 nannies in the house. We each had our own nanny.
You want to explain that? Was there a substance abuse issue or?
No.
Okay.
My mom, I think, had a breakdown, honestly. Okay. My father he's the head of Nat Grumman at the time, so he was in charge of the shuttles taking off. So his last word was, let it go, and the shuttles would go up. So he worked a lot. So we had literally, depending on who was in the house, because we would bounce back and forth between parents. You know, you get pissed off at one parent, and you go to the other parent. Right. So we always had nannies. Whenever the situation.
So you lived a very high lifestyle, high society, I guess, sort of.
We lived okay. I mean, you know, my dad owned restaurants out in Fire Island.
Okay.
You know, we had almost close to a 100-foot boat that we would go on in the summertime. We always had little boats and whatever. Lived on the water in Long Island, so.
It wasn't the typical single parent household where you're getting rushed to daycare, rushed to the Boys and Girls Club, that sort of thing.
No. Yeah.
You lived at a high level.
But yeah, I mean, we didn't want for anything, you know. And my mom too. My mom ran a pharmaceutical company.
Wow.
So she's not, you know, was. So it was a competition. Who could buy you more?
Okay.
Or you know what? Who was your better bet that week? You know, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but you know that's what happens. And when you have 2 parents that hate each other, that butt each other up against, and your father's no good, your mother's no good, all of that nonsense, you know, going back and forth, you know, you learn the game.
And the kids learn how to play it.
And the kids learn how to play the game, exactly. You want a new car? Who's got the better deal? So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's definitely a lot different. I recently read an article about a woman. She's a postal worker and had 5 children. They all were homeless, living in their car.
That's a lot of people right now.
I know. Is that ever something you've experienced? Have you ever experienced homelessness, eviction, anything?
No.
How did you prevent that as a single mother? Well, I mean, we haven't gotten to the single mother, but how did your parents prevent that, I guess?
Well, they were both financially secured.
Okay.
I mean, we never, you know, yeah.
Did you ever think, you know, I'm not going to have enough money? You never in your life thought, I'm not going to have enough. No. You always said.
Yeah, we lived very comfortable on both sides of the spectrum. I mean, you know, my parents had very good jobs, so I never, you know, we didn't worry about, you know, we were more worried about where we were going to vacation than anything else. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. And
then, you married your husband. You were married for 10.5 years. You were home as a housewife.
Yep.
And start from there.
And then I got divorced. I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being a stay-at-home mom by myself, raising my kids by myself. You know, it becomes very lonely. I never cheated on him. I never had an affair. I just was tired of being alone. So I said I want a divorce, and he was devastated. Tried to, you know, do everything he could, and I just, you know, I was done. When I'm done, I'm done.
Sometimes it takes them a long time to get it. When they finally get it, it's probably too late.
You know what? It's funny because they go from please, please, please to you're dead to me. And, you know, all those emotions go up and down and up and down. And in a situation where, you know, I'll give you whatever you need to survive to, I shut your water bill off, you know? And even when he shut the water bill off, I was like, I don't care. Right. You know, I'm like, whatever. I had a beautiful home.
When you left, you were not in a destitute
I didn't leave.
Well, when you split
up. I
up.
asked him to leave, yeah.
Okay,
so he, it took a while.
Okay.
And unfortunately, he took a restraining order because then he became angry. Okay. Not violent, but angry. Sure. Where he came, I was having a dinner party one night, and he came and smashed through my back door. The back of my house was all glass, and we had 2 sets of sliding glass doors. And he threw something through it and smashed the thing, and then came through. And came in, and then the dinner party all heard what he said, so that's how I got my restraining order. Oh, wow. He's like, you know, the only way you're going to get out of this is with cement blocks tied to your ankles. So I was like,
Oh my gosh.
So I got a restraining order, and then it turned into War of the Roses. I mean, literally. You know, I had detectives sit in my driveway because he would drive past my house every day.
He was stalking you.
And he was staying within 50 feet. You know, he drove through the gates, he drove through my front door, got out and said, I'm 50 feet away from her. You know, it just was like continuous chaos.
And the kids are watching all this.
And the kids watched it all. At one point he took my car, I had a brand new car, and he had it repoed, and I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So whatever. I said, we'll make it fun. We'll ride our bikes to school. Or come back to my $3 million house on my bicycle.
Oh
That's all
my
right.
gosh.
It's all okay, you know? You know.
How did you, so you didn't even have an income at that point, but
No,
how
I
did
had
you
no
refrain
income.
from becoming destitute? And
I
like
have
on the street?
I have a mom that's
Oh,
very,
yes.
very, very, very wealthy.
Yeah.
That she really, she floated me until I figured out what I wanted to do. I ended up buying my own business, which was the business in Somerville.
Wow.
Which was the interior decorating store. So I had that for a long time, and I thank God it took off very quickly, and I did very, very well with it.
Yes.
From there, I after about 6 years or 7 years, I got kind of tired of like chasing my own, not chasing my tail, but I was doing it by myself. My kids were like, yeah, we don't want to be a part of that. So I ended up, a friend of mine was managing the Holiday Inn Express on 202. And she said, they're looking for a director of sales. I think you'll be great at it. You know, it's a steady income, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'll go talk to them.
Did you sell the business though first?
No, I still had my business.
Oh, you still have
I
it?
still had my business. So I went and talked to them, and they were like, can you start tomorrow? I was like, huh?
Right.
So I then went, and it was towards the end of the month, and I was doing month-to-month lease in Somerville. So I was like, listen, I'm done, I'm out. I had a fire sale, sold everything in the store, and I was like, whatever, you know what, just get rid of it. Yeah. I started like a week later, and then I was the director of sales for about a month and a half, and then the assistant GM left, and they asked me if I would take on that position, but keep director of sales. So I did that, and then the GM left, and they were like, would you take over the hotel? And I was like, sure. I mean, I did most of it anyway.
Right.
So I took over the hotel, and then we had an event, and at Neshannock Valley, no, we had an event at the hotel, and the head of the whatever came to the event and said, listen, we have an opening at Neshannock Valley Golf Course. We'd love for you to come in and run the golf course. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So I left a very good job to go to an even better job. And then I put together what they call the WAPL, which is the Women's Open. It's 18 and under. It's a national golf tournament. So we had that there. And the owners of the Bernard's Inn came to that. And they were like, oh my God, I can't believe that you did all this. Would you come run the Bernard's Inn? Right. So then from there, I went to the Bernard's Inn, and I was the director of sales there. And I ran that for 5 years. And then...
And how much of this was luck? I mean,
how
did you get so... Is it all relationships?
It's just the owners coming to an event, and then when I was at the Bernard's Inn, we had a huge open house, and the owners of Landmark Hospitality came to that, and they're like, we want you. And then that's when they gave me the farmhouse in Hampton.
Wow.
And then I ran that property until it was dead in the water. I ran that property until it got to, it was about like a 4.2 million.
Okay. And
it was at literally 500,000. So then they said, would you do us a favor? Would you run Hotel du Lavage in New Hope? So then the Hotel du Lavage was at like 2-point-something million, and we took it to like 9 million in
How
3
long?
years.
3 years.
So, and then I said, I hate New Jersey. I hate the cold. I hate the taxes.
Yeah.
I gave my 1 month notice. I said, you got a month to figure out, who's going to take my job. 2 weeks before I left, they're like, you're not leaving. I'm like, yeah. The day before, they're like, you're not leaving.
Oh my gosh.
Sold my house as is with the spices still in the cabinets, and moved to Florida and said, I'll figure it out. Moved in with a friend in Cape Coral. Was there for about 2 months. Ended up going to moving to Estero because it was a little closer to Naples, and I was trying to figure out if I was going to be on the east or the west coast. Tell them to shut up. Guys, go in the other room.
Okay, go ahead.
So depending on if I was going to the east or the west coast, and then I got the job with Friends of Foster Families, Friends of Foster Kids Forever here, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stay here. So that's how I kind of ended up in.
I know. There's a lot. There's always a lot.
I know, right?
One of the things I always loved about you and your husband, although you might not like this, was that each of you had a child, as opposed to one person having
Correct.
I don't want to say burden, but the responsibility of
Right.
the children.
Well, that's the
Was that a positive thing
no,
to you?
it was horrible.
Okay.
My ex-husband had my son, and I had my daughter.
Right.
They have just reunited within like the last 2 years.
Oh, the siblings didn't even get along. They weren't communicating.
No, because my ex-husband was, me and my daughter to him were dead, and so they in the last 2 years have just gotten to become friends, to be civil.
Right.
Gabby doesn't talk to her dad, and Nicholas doesn't talk to me. So that's.
So you would not recommend that for anybody?
Hell no.
Okay.
That was a stupid judge. Yeah.
Okay.
She's an idiot, total idiot.
Okay. Because some of us, like when we're raised, you saw me.
Yeah.
I was actually homeless.
Yeah.
I had the 4 kids, and it would have been great to have some, some help if you
Absolutely.
have that sort of a partner. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You don't recommend it.
No,
Okay.
not at all. Yeah. It puts a wedge between the kids too as well.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
But they finally in the last 2 years have really just Gabby's engaged.
You've done a great job. She's engaged.
I
Put her
know.
through school. Put her through medical
school. Now is in veterinarian school.
Oh my gosh.
She just told me the other day she's on the dean's list.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, she's she did really, really well.
And your son's in law enforcement.
My
so
son
that's
works for the
fantastic.
FBI.
Right.
He's undercover right now for
Right.
the next 2 years.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, they turned out okay.
Yeah, I would say
You
so.
know.
What do you
they-
recommend for other single parents in that situation to raise
Just
great
give them love.
Yeah.
Give them love.
Yeah.
Just
Aw.
tell them you love them every single day. Every single day. And it doesn't matter what, if something goes wrong, it's okay.
Right.
It's absolutely okay.
Right.
So,
Well, that's wonderful. You and I did also have some challenges in our
Yes.
relationships as well
Mhm.
that we want to help the other single parents with. I think both of us were scammed. Mine was more of a love scam online,
Oh,
and then
that's
you
right.
had
Dr.
the guy.
Tom.
Well,
Yeah.
not just him, but the guy after
Yeah.
after your husband, I think.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that situation. So we both want to kind of talk to that and try to help other single parents out.
So, don't trust anybody. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I was with somebody after I got divorced, or when I was going through my separation. We ended up moving in together.
Yeah.
Getting a house. His kids and my kids. Well, his 2 kids and my daughter gelled perfectly.
Oh wow.
My daughter gelled with his son. His son name was Nicholas, which is the same name as mine. So they were like thick as thieves.
Oh.
The daughter, she was very, very attached to me because the mother, his ex-wife, had addiction issues. So she never really had a mom. So she latched on to me, which my daughter hated.
Yeah.
And with that being said, my daughter ended up getting into drugs.
Oh my gosh.
And when she was 18, she came to me and she said she was a heroin addict.
Oh my gosh.
That she was doing 35 bags of heroin a day. She couldn't wake up in the morning. She couldn't go to sleep at night. But she was on the dean's list
All this
still.
because of this relationship?
I think it was just a divorce. It was really,
Yeah.
really, I think a lot of everything.
Yeah.
And so I looked into rehab. I had no idea even what drugs were.
You've never experienced that at all? Me
Never,
neither.
never.
I don't drink,
no.
drugs, smoke. Yeah.
I drank, but
Yeah.
I mean, at 25, who
Right,
does
right.
drinks like that?
Right.
So I ended up finding her rehab. She actually told me and my husband together. We took her to dinner, and I literally thought she was pregnant. I was like, because she said, "I have something to tell you," and I was like,
gosh.
ready to throw up in my mouth.
Yeah.
And she said, "I'm addicted to drugs." And I said, "Okay." So my ex-husband said, "I'm going to take you and I'm going to detox you in my house." She's like, "You're out of your mind. That's not going to happen." And I'm like, "If you think you're taking my kid to detox at your house, you're nuts." I said, took me, so I called up the hospital, Hunter Medical Center, and I was like, "Listen, do you have a detox?" They said, "Unless she's high, we won't accept her." And I was like, "You got to be kidding
That's
me."
ridiculous.
I said, where do I go? And they said, "We have no idea. There's this clinic and that clinic." And I said, "I'm not dumping my kid at some clinic where literally you don't know what happens to them." So we found a rehab down here, actually in Florida.
Okay.
And I think it was so long ago. It was like Fort Lauderdale or whatever, which came highly acclaimed.
Yeah.
It was $30,000 a month.
Wow.
That I wrote that check. I was choking. And I wrote a check for $30,000 and I said, "This is the deal. You're either going to come home clean or you're on the street because you're not going to be living with me." So about 2 weeks into the program, my daughter called me. She was hysterical, crying. She says, "Mom, I'll never do another drug again." I'm like, "Okay, what was?"
Had she been exposed to oxycodone or anything during that
No,
time? Oh,
nope.
This was literally just from the school or the street.
So
Okay.
she said, "There's a woman that's been here." She goes, "She's been in and out of this rehab like 25 times. She's your age." She's like Gucci from head to toe.
Wow.
And she's like, "Mom, her husband's wealthier than wealthy. She said, and she comes in, gets clean, and then goes back out and does drugs. And I'm like, that's insane. So my daughter came out. I said, you have to go to, there was like a program, like a 12-step program. So I took her there and I sat with her, and she said, after about 20 minutes, she's like, I'm out of here. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, Mom, if I have to listen to all these people's sad stories, she goes, I'll do drugs tomorrow. Wow. She goes, just not to put it in my head about what these, and I was like, I get it. We left there. She said, I want to go to college. I said, okay, where do you want to go?
She found purpose when she was there. Exactly. How many months was she there before she figured out this is not for me?
What do you mean?
How many months was she in the rehab?
1 month.
Only 1
30
month.
days, yeah.
Okay. Right.
She was ready to leave after 2 weeks, though.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
She was crying on the phone, please come get me. And I was like,
right. And that's typical addict behavior.
Yeah.
You don't know if she's actually.
So and then I spoke to her sponsor, and her sponsor was like, nope, she's staying, blah, blah. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So then she ended up, again, she was in rehab. She came home. She said, I want to go to college.
Oh, wow.
I said, well, what do you want to do? Because she's not the norm. Gabby is very, she's probably the most loving kid in this entire world. She's taken her shoes off her feet in Colorado in the middle of the winter and given to homeless people.
Oh.
Like, that's just my kid.
That's wonderful.
She just wants to, you met her. She wants to save the world. So she said, I don't know. I'm going to find a college. So she did a ton of research, and she found Naropa University, which is a holistic medical school, which is based on holistics and making your own medicines. Yeah. And she said, you know what, that's where I want to go. Oh. So we got on a plane the following week. They were having like open house or whatever it was. So we went, me and her went for a week and a half. We went to all these different classes, and I was never so impressed in all my life. Yeah. I mean, it was just very interactive, and they did chimes before their lessons. They sat on beanbag chairs. They didn't sit at desks. It wasn't your traditional learning, which I think for her, because she's not that traditional. I mean, she's always been a straight A student, but she's not that traditional. She would learn so much better with being, hands-on in this and face-to-face.
Like kinesthetic learning.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So she just picked up, and she's like, she fell in love with it. She's like, this is where I want to be. I went, okay. So we figured out 6 months later, she was off to school. I brought her out to Colorado. She was in what they call like Peyton's Place. Remember? Like it was like all these apartments, and in the middle was a big pool. Mm-hmm. That's where she lived. It was 4 bedrooms and kitchen, living room, dining room for every apartment. Wow. She had 3 amazing, amazing girls that they're to this day, they're in her wedding. And
she's never reverted back. She's never relapsed or anything.
Nope.
That's wonderful.
Just never. And she just, she has a great life.
Right.
But she graduated with her doctorate.
Nice.
And said, you know what, Mom, I you know what, people just make me sad. And I'm like, I get it. Yeah. She's like, I want to become a veterinarian. So she's back enrolled in school now, and again, she just made the dean's list, thank God.
Oh my gosh.
So she's going to be, she's like, I don't know if I'm going to do the full vet. I might just do an associate's so I can be, a tech or something. She's, but you know what? I'm not really worried about it.
That's wonderful.
So that's kind of her,
Yeah, I interviewed a doctor last week, Dr. Robbie, and he had similar story with drug addictions and things like that. But the minute he found purpose in what he wanted to do, same thing, went to school, got his doctorate, and cleaned up, and that's
you
fantastic.
figure it out real quick.
You do. You do. Can you speak to having funds, resources, emergency money, whatever you want to say, to the single parents? How important is that for emergencies like what happened with your daughter?
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody ever wants to be homeless. Thank God my alimony buyout was my house.
Okay.
My husband said, all of a sudden there was no more money. There was never any more money. His business was going downhill.
Oh, boy.
Something that funded my lifestyle where literally I could go into any store anytime, buy whatever I wanted. Mm-hmm. There was never the word no. I got a new car every year. Wow. There was never no.
Okay.
Sorry, my business has been so bad that I don't have any money. But
was this after you split up or just before
after we split up?
Okay.
And then, I hired forensic accountants, and it was like on. And my divorce took 5 years.
Wow.
To the point where it was pretty funny. I'll tell you a funny story. So the day I finally signed my divorce papers, when you go through like the metal detectors, the same people, and I was in court probably 3 to 4 times a week, every single week for 5 years.
Wow. He did not want to let go.
Yeah. So the finally, I was like, oh my God, I finally got divorced, and they were like, we thought you worked here.
Oh gosh.
I was like, what? They're like, we thought you worked here. I was like, hell no, I'm trying to get through a divorce. Oh my God. And they laughed. They were like, are you kidding me? I was like, no. They're like, who is your judge? Right. I said, clearly not the right one. But yeah, it was, you know,
I mean,
for a long 10 years.
did your parents set up funds for you in advance for
No.
you and the children? Nothing?
No,
You did all this yourself?
I did all myself.
How were you able to pay $30,000 a month for?
I worked.
Okay.
I worked. I mean, I had my store.
Yeah.
I thank God, knock on wood, I made very good money in my interior deck. I had great clients. I sold a lot of, and you know, my turnover was really fast and quick. You know, and I had very high-end furniture, but I got it at great discounted prices, so I was able to price it according, you know, I mean, I had $50,000 dining room tables that I could sell for $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
So, and somebody that's looking for that,
Right.
you know,
Right.
to them, that's a steal.
Right.
So, you know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you just always had enough resources.
I just,
You
figured
just figured it out, yeah.
Just figured it out. Yeah. So.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We didn't speak a lot about both of our challenges with the relationships.
So, when I first, when I was separated and I met somebody who I had known for a long time previous, but I did not know that he was an alcoholic.
And he convinced you to put your money in his
Yeah.
name.
So when I got divorced, there was over probably about $600,000 that he talked me into putting into his funds because he was afraid my husband was going to go after it, blah, blah, blah. So when we broke up, he took that. And because rightfully it was technically his, I tried to sue him for it. I signed it over. So it was just a mess.
And even in that
You know what, who
situation, you
cares?
still had no experience of homelessness, destitute,
Nope.
nothing.
Nope.
You still could. Oh, that's
Yep.
wonderful.
Yeah. I was like, I figured out. You figure it out. When your kids are involved, you figure it out. You know?
Speak to single parents about how do you figure it out? I mean, did you use, like I talked to them about using life insurance, tax refunds, all sorts of things to increase and improve your financial situation. But how do you have to have already been exposed to the figuring it out model, or
no?
What is the mindset?
Thank God. I mean, again, I had wealthy parents that would have never let me drown.
Okay.
They're grandkids. Would you let your grandkids drown?
I would not, but there are parents that do not help take care of the grandkids.
I know.
So. And some might have said it's your own fault. Did you ever feel any sense of guilt or anything with your parents? That's fantastic.
No.
That's wonderful.
They always came to, they were always there.
Oh, wow.
My sisters, not so much, but,
Your sisters were not there for you, or your parents weren't there for your sisters?
My sisters were not there for me.
Oh, okay.
They took my ex-husband's side because he told them, oh, she had an affair. That was never the case, but... So to this day, I'm estranged from my two sisters.
Oh my gosh!
Because of it, my older sister did end up sleeping with my ex-husband.
I was going to say it sounds like something else going on there. Yeah.
She was very jealous, and
are they still together or?
No, I think it was a one and done kind of like let me piss her off kind of thing.
Oh
but whatever. Yeah. You know what? This is what it is. Live and learn, move on.
I guess.
Move on.
And what did you do to, I mean, obviously I know your parents are very wealthy, but what did you do to maintain your resources? Did you, where did you invest money, that sort of thing? Did you invest in anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
But that was the investment that I made, that he took.
Right. So you just literally put it in the bank. You never took it and put it in like stocks or anything like that? Never?
I said, I'm done with that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You had done that when you were married?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had, even to this day, my kids have Disney stock, and, whatever, and when they have their communion, everybody gives stock options to, so my kids are very well taken care
of. Okay.
Well,
that's a nice life to have.
Yeah.
I would like more people to learn from you, actually, and could you give 5 tips or anything, or any tips to them about how to do that? I mean, I guess you obviously need great relationship with your parents, and if they're wealthy, that certainly helps.
Yeah.
What if you didn't have wealthy parents? Do you think you'd still be in the position you are right now? No. Okay. So it definitely was them setting you up.
Again, find a job.
Yeah.
You know what? Don't rely on any kind of assistance or system.
I agree.
Because I work in the foster care business, and a lot of our parents rely on assistance. And guess what? Once you rely on that, you'll never get off the couch.
That's right.
And it's pathetic. And I get some people absolutely need to rely on it. I never had, thank God, but
I speak to single parents about that. Actually, I even tell a story in my book
where
a woman was $20,000. She was earning $20,000 as a waitress.
Yeah.
She took her tax refund and bought real estate.
There you go.
She's like $3.2 million net worth right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, just take what you can, do what you can
with what you got.
Put it aside, save it, do whatever you have to do to, you don't have to live a lifestyle of Riley. Live within your means and
There's
Yeah.
absolutely no excuse for being
No.
homeless or depending on
No.
services.
Exactly.
I met with somebody last week. I was telling you, a doctor at his practice. Medicaid actually pays $25,000 for that service, and they make you beg for housing and money for food.
Are you kidding me?
$25,000 for the service, a brain, all this technology and stuff. And I said, "Oh my god!"
Oh my God, that's
And make
pathetic.
people beg for food and shelter. So
Well, even Florida here, I mean, the homeless
Mhm.
situation in Florida is horrific.
Mhm.
There's a bridge that goes over Fort Myers, and to the right of that is all wooded area. And you'll keep seeing it. There's infested with tents. There's kids running around.
have you been to California? Is it worse than California? Okay. All right. It seems to be bad everywhere.
It's bad, yeah. I mean, and it's sad because we're sending all this money to every country in the world except our own. You know? I mean, unfortunately, we don't even take care of our own. So, I was just at the grocery store and there was a guy had one leg with crutches and he was begging for money at the light.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm like, hey, yeah.
You had always worked in for-profit companies.
Yes.
So you've always seen a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Especially in the hotels.
I've always had a great job and I made a lot of money.
I know you did. You were the shopping queen. You had, I don't remember how many pairs of shoes you used to have.
Oh, I know.
Clothes, everything.
Yeah.
You were like the ideal for the rest of us. What is it like now working for a nonprofit organization?
Very hard.
Okay.
Very, very hard.
But thank God your kids are grown.
My kids are grown.
So,
They don't need my assistance anymore. Literally, I went from making almost $300,000 a year to $58,000 a year.
wow.
It's a big jump. You learn to figure it out.
Okay.
You don't shop like you.
You still got to figure it out mindset.
I still got to figure it out.
Okay.
I don't shop like I used to, or I shouldn't say that. I like to shop still,
Yeah.
but now it might be at like consignment shops or especially down here. Oh my
Okay.
God, it's all couture.
That's true.
It's
probably
crazy
stuff,
couture in
Okay.
Naples.
Okay.
It might be like you buy one, a couple of dresses for $100 rather than one dress for $1,500.
Right.
So, but again, I learn every day. Let
Yeah.
me tell you something. I learn every single day.
I appreciate you being in the industry. Like, we wanted to be foster parents, my husband and I, for a while. It never seemed to work out.
Right.
Can you want to speak about that? About
Sure,
the company,
absolutely.
what you do, and how
So,
they help the community?
Yeah, I am the director of events and marketing for Friends of Foster Families Friends of Foster Children Forever. So I raise the money so that these kids can have after-school projects, can have tutoring done. They can. We buy them their first computer. We buy them their first car. We help them. We apply for their college. We pay for their college. So we really we do a lot for the foster, and to be in our foster program, which I love to death, is you have to be in our tutoring program.
Okay.
If you're not being tutored and your grades are not to par, we don't give you the extra stuff. So these
And
kids,
this is in Naples, Florida?
Naples.
Is
Yeah.
this a national? Or
Nope,
it's just
we're
a
just
local?
we're
Okay.
going to take it statewide next year,
Oh, wow.
and then hopefully 2 years from there national.
Okay.
We're gonna So as
How
an
many kids are they helping
Right now we have about 392 kids
Wow.
in Naples alone.
Okay.
And people think Naples. Naples is
Yeah.
like, oh, it's gorgeous, it's staple, nobody. It's if you could see what's behind the scenes in Naples, you know what? There's the battered women are horrific. There's a lot of money, but there's also a lot of tragedy. With that, they're all about what they look like, and I have to be skinny, and I have to have this facelift and that facelift, and then they go home to an abusive husband.
Wow. And these are typically wealthy?
Oh,
kind of
extremely
abusing
wealthy.
the women, okay.
And you think, oh my God, they have such a great life. They don't. A lot of them don't. You know what? I always thought, money's going to buy me happiness. Money did buy me
Yeah,
happiness.
and money does in some ways buy happiness. Yeah.
It does. When you can afford the things you want and you want
Right.
to do the things you want to do,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
When you can't afford to do those things anymore, does it bite a little bit? Yeah, but you know what? You take a back step and you go, you know what? It's a monetary thing. It's it's not. You don't have to have a $5,000 dress to make you happy.
Right.
I can buy a $100 dress to make me happy.
Sure.
So.
What are some of the things the kids need? The kids are in foster care in this particular program, or are they living in individual homes?
So they're in foster care. The open
okay.
cases are that they've been removed from their homes,
Okay.
and they are now with either a guardian ad litem, a caretaker, or a grandparent. So financially, it's not,
Explain with them with a guardian ad litem, because we have them in New Hampshire, and the guardian ad litem usually doesn't take responsibility for the kids. They're just kind of
sometimes they do. Sometimes they represent them. They're the ones that go to court for them. They're the ones that go into the home, make sure that they're well taken care of. But sometimes the guardian ad litem's here because they're older. They will take, they'll take a foster care in like dire straits.
Wow.
So if there's no placement for them, they will take them.
Okay.
So, but then usually the grandparents will take the kids, and they'll say because they don't want to rat their child out.
Right.
So now their kid is, they're giving them visitations and they really shouldn't have it. And so it's a bit of a messy situation.
Do you need water or anything? There were a couple stories actually I found down here where families, single mother in the foster care system, or the kids they were part of social services.
Yep.
What is it called? Child and Youth Services.
Yeah.
And many times they're being called and the kids were not removed, and the mom had actually hogtied
Yeah.
the kids and put them in a freezer and stuff. Are you
We
seeing
have
stories like that?
a kid that literally, Dawn,
How's the camera?
we have a kid that it was a mom and she had 2 kids. And she had gone to a party in the morning with her 2 kids that she had been drinking all day long. Mm-hmm. So at 6 o'clock, the mother was like, we're in the car, stone cold drunk. The 14-year-old child said, Mom, you're not driving, I'm driving. Had no idea how to drive. She got in the driver's seat and they got on 75. She got in an accident. Her 2 siblings were in the back seat. They died immediately. And her and her mom, this was just literally probably maybe a month and a half ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
survivor's remorse, yeah.
I mean, she was 14 years old. She was trying to get her siblings home without the mother driving drunk. And she got in an accident on 75 and the siblings in the backseat died. Yeah, so you get a lot of that too. I mean,
Have you ever seen this stuff before when you were in Jersey? Had you
never.
ever been around
I didn't even know what
this?
foster care was. I had no idea what foster care was. I was never prevalent to it.
You never had friends. Nobody around you was in this situation.
Ever in this situation.
Was I the only homeless person you had ever met?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with my husband. Like same thing. He's never seen, people being in dire straits like that.
No.
So yeah.
No. I mean, I remember you were living in a hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I met him, it's been 10 years now. 10 years of no homelessness.
Thank God.
So
yeah. And your kids are good?
My kids are good.
Okay.
One actually is also planning to go to medical school. My kids were a little bit later in terms of education, but one graduated from Southern New Hampshire University.
God bless.
Another one, Southern New Hampshire, on to medical school. Another one's kind of figuring out. She relocated to Atlanta. She'll figure it out. She's 23, the youngest one.
Yeah.
And then my son actually lives down here in Tampa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did have some challenges with the kids and stuff and foster care down here, but they have resolved it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the single parents, or
stay strong?
Yeah.
You know what? Just keep the faith, and I'm not a religious person.
Okay.
But you know what? You become very religious once you get divorced.
Yes.
And you know what? Just keep your kids. You know what? I thought I was protecting my kids 100%. And clearly my daughter ended up on drugs.
Okay. What do you mean by protected? Because I do speak in the book about not working to the point of exhaustion, and your kids need you emotionally,
your kids
and
need
having
you.
live-in partners is really risky for the babies.
Yeah,
so
exactly. You don't want somebody. You know what? Stick with your kids. Right. It's you and your kids, and you know what? Don't let any outsiders in until your kids are good. Yeah. Because remember, they're coming off of a situation where they're now removed from their father, or whatever the situation was. Maybe they go to them every other weekend. Bringing another partner, I learned the hard way. Bringing another partner into the situation is just, it's resentment.
Right. And it can really, at least it didn't affect your relationship with your daughter.
No.
That's good.
Well, she ended up on drugs. Okay. So it did, but it didn't.
Yes.
And you know what? She's a great kid.
Yeah.
God bless her. She's such a good kid.
When your kids were there, or your daughter was there, were you pretty much home at night, like for dinner and things like that? Or did you have a routine?
I would pick my kids. I would pick Gabby up after school.
Okay.
And I would take her to my store. So I'd close my store for an hour.
Oh, good.
Pick her up. She'd come to my store. She'd do her homework on the floor in the store. At that time I had bought a little dog. So the dog was running around and she was loving the dog, and I made it that it was a safe environment, a happy environment.
Yes.
And then we would go home, we'd make dinner,
Yeah.
and we'd eat, and she was done with her homework by that time. So it was like playtime at that time, you know?
Oh my gosh.
So that she didn't have to, there was no pressure to do homework at 6:00 at night.
Okay.
So, and sometimes she hated being at my store, but you know what? It is what it is.
They kept her safe.
Kept her safe.
Right.
I knew where she was.
Right.
You know? When she was younger, she played soccer, she was a cheerleader. You know, she didn't want to do
You
that.
kept her involved in a lot of stuff that
Exactly.
people are away from. Drugs to the
Exactly.
business. You can, yeah.
Which I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people just trying to take advantage of the kids
of course,
in the school system.
absolutely.
Even me, one
And
time
even the
something
football.
happened to my son, I was literally right outside.
Yeah.
And they're
I
just
know.
people that are
And
preying
even
on
the
your
football
kids.
team, they're doing drugs. So,
I know.
you know, it is what it is.
Any recommendations? Like somebody actually recently asked me, I did different talks, and they said, "What would you recommend to keep your kids safe?" And I said, "I don't want to sound grim, but
Keep with you.
it's not. There's not really much you can
No.
do. Even with your best effort, things
Yeah.
happen to them.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
yeah. Anything else? Any questions I didn't ask you?
Oh, I don't know. Is there any? You were listening. Is there any questions you didn't answer me? No.
You're fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love you.
I appreciate you just being such a strong single mother as
try.
well.
I
Like, oh my
try.
gosh,
I'm trying.
trying to keep your daughter safe, and even trying to be in your son's life to
Yeah.
the best of your ability.
Still
you
to
know.
this day, I still try. But you know what? It is what it is. When he's ready, he'll be ready. Like, you can't force something that, he's 27. He'll
Right.
figure it out.
He will. So somebody, let's just say they don't have enough income. Would you tell them go and get 3 jobs? Or
Yes.
Does
Well-
it matter if you have the education or just find a job that pays the
No,
bills?
what I'm going to say is
Okay.
get a job
Yes.
and go to school at night.
Okay.
But go do the school at night online in your home.
In your home. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason for that is
You want to be with your kids. You want your kids to see that you're home.
right.
I mean, there's nothing worse than having an absent parent.
Right.
You know.
In the
'cause that's when they get in
situation-
trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what you're seeing with the foster kids, the friends of foster kids, are any of these kids the products of parents just not being around?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Moms are working 3 jobs.
Right.
So, at 10 years old, you're a latchkey kid. Then
Right.
you're making dinner.
Right.
And then you're tucking yourself into bed at night.
Right.
What kind of life is that?
That's right. Well said. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
No,
Thank you for being this elegant single mother
Absolutely.
and for teaching others how to actually do it.
Yeah, no.
So-
Whatever I can give you is awesome.
Thank you. If you think of anything else, let me know.
I will.
How can we help you, and how can we help Friends of the Foster Kids?
Friends of Foster Families, Friends of
of
Foster
Foster
Kids Forever. You know what? You can go on my website.
Okay.
So actually, if you can put a shout out on the 15th and the 16th, the 15th from 12 noon to the 16th to 12 noon,
Okay.
we do what we call Fun to Need. And I'll send you my link.
Okay.
And we're having a competition in our office, and I always win, so it's kind of funny. So if you click on that link, you can donate as little as $25.
Wow.
And we have 2 foundations that match your donations.
Okay.
So I'll send it to you tomorrow if you don't mind.
That would be great.
And then if you can send it out to everybody you know,
Okay.
again, the more money we make, the more money we can give to the foster kids.
Okay, I will. We're part of some networks that I'll put it in. We actually were in Tempe, Arizona a couple weeks ago, part of an organization called the Genius Network. So
Oh,
hopefully
okay.
we can give the link to that group. Yeah.
And like I
So,
said,
yeah.
it's as little as $25.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like you spend $25 at Starbucks in 1 week.
I know.
So if you could just not have coffee that week
Right.
and give us $25, that would be amazing. And I'll put it on LinkedIn, and I'll spread the word. But yeah,
And it's wonderful that you said it's only $25 because there are people that I can't afford it.
I know.
can't afford an Uber. I can't
Right.
afford $50 for a landscape
right.
for grass cutting.
exactly.
And what would you say in that situation?
This is going to kids that are in need.
Right.
They need. You know what? This is going to a child that doesn't have a backpack,
Right.
that doesn't have uniforms to go to school, and you need uniforms in Florida. All the schools in Florida have uniforms.
Okay.
So that
That's great too.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So this is some kid that doesn't have a uniform.
Right.
So let me buy them a uniform for
Okay.
the week. Let me buy them sneakers to put on their feet, because you know as well as I do, kids grow every 2 months. Okay, so that pair of sneakers that they had 2 months ago doesn't even fit them anymore.
Wow.
I just had oh my gosh, what was the company? I called up some company, a sock company, and I was like, listen, can you guys do us a favor and donate socks? They donate 1,000 pairs of socks. These socks online are $25 a pair.
Wow.
They donated them
Just
to
by
me.
a phone call.
By a phone call.
Wow.
Yep. That's all it takes. And well, I have friends in foster children
Yes.
forever behind me too.
Yes.
But all they see is my logo, and they're like, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
Send me everything. Send me the link. Send me the information.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know you have a big event March 3rd. Unfortunately, I can't go, but is there
know.
another one right after that, or are there
So
certain events?
we only do it once a year.
Okay.
What's after that is it's called Back to School.
Okay.
So what happens is we pack backpacks with the kids' sneaker size,
Okay.
with their EPIs, which is all whatever they need to start the school with.
Okay.
Uniforms, everything that they possibly need. We pack it, and it goes per name and per age and per shoe size and per. So it's very personalized per child.
Okay.
They come up, they drive in, we give everything to them, and then they drive off, and they have everything they need to start the school year with.
Okay.
Which is
What
nice.
are the ages of the kids?
Infants to high school. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our younger foster kids are, the mothers give birth to maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th child. They're addicted to drugs. They're addicted to alcohol. And it's because when they're in the womb, they're doing drugs and alcohol.
Right.
So it's a sad situation.
Thank you. And I'm also very passionate about the child sex trafficking and eliminating
That's
that and work.
huge,
Yeah.
huge here.
I know.
Sex trafficking
In
Miami.
the United States in general, it's
So
huge.
there's a Walmart here in Naples,
Mhm.
and I was like, "What's sex trafficking?" I had
and
no
child
idea.
sex trafficking is even
Wait a
greater.
minute.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute. So my boss, we were talking. We have what we call on Thursdays. We do troubleshooting.
Mhm.
So we find out what's going on and we try and troubleshoot everything.
Okay. We can just talk. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, the trafficking down here is horrible. And she's like, "Oh, it's at the Walmart." I go, "What do you mean?" She goes,
hot.
all of these
We're very much.
foster families that come in, like the fathers, if they get custody of their kids, they sell them. They sell them at Walmart.
Are these American people selling
American
their
people
kids?
selling their kids at Walmart, and they take them down to Miami. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
If they know it's happening at Walmart, why isn't it being stopped?
They stock it all the time. All the time. We had a girl, she was 14 years old. Her father took her down to Miami, sold her for drugs. She ended up hooking up with this 23 or 24-year-old guy. I don't remember how old he was. He was her pimp. They ended up coming back to Naples for some reason. He got picked up, found out that she was part of it. They took her and put her in seclusion, and she hung herself the next morning. Yeah. So, it's crazy. It's
If they know it's happening, though, why can't the police
I
stop
think
it?
there's just so much of it.
Oh, it's just...
I think it's just so much of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You are absolutely welcome.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
No, thank you.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Till next time.
Till next time. Come visit us. Come
I
visit
will.
us on a happy note.
I will.
Not that this is not a happy note,
Right. This is actually very good because you're helping people.
What's that?
You're helping single parents. So
but that's all.
this
That's
is very
right. That's all good. If I